going on, everybody? Coming to you on a Sunday night. And Will, it's that time of the year. We wait for it all year long. We we yearn for it, really. We get excited for it. We look forward to it. And then it comes and it hits us, and we spend the next 15 weeks of our lives absolutely miserable. Welcome to Fourth and One with O'Grady and Joplin, where we're gonna complain about winning football games, but really it feels like we lost on Saturday. There's really no need to beat around the bush, Will. Let's get right into it. Give me your thoughts about the game on Saturday
Man,
against the unranked Houston Cougars.
when I've they really are starting to affect my mood, and I didn't get any. I mean, I got sleep last night, but it's so unsettling to know that we are capable of playing that bad. Um, you know, to first off to start, obviously, offense was absolutely horrendous. Not sure what happened. Hopefully, it never happens again. But they've got a week. They can't do that against Tulane. But on the bright side, we're going to be optimistic. Defense did look phenomenal. For as bad as our offense played, definitely defense was the only reason that we're still ranked 15th in the nation. So kudos to them. But we'll get into this later. But Jackson Arnold, I'm not sure how I feel about him. I know it's early. I know it's only week two, but man, oh man, did he startled me just a little bit. I think homeboy's pissing out his leg, so we need to get that figured out ASAP. What really what stood out to you, Colin, out of all the great things that happened?
So much, so much. Well, look, let's try and move this towards a positive note towards the end of this episode here. So we'll start with all the negatives, and there's a lot of negatives, obviously. So just from the offensive side of the ball, we look like a high school offense. We get we're getting outgained by Houston for most of the game. We have no identity as an offense. It looks like we have no flow whatsoever. Um, with Jeff Lebby, at least there was, his thing was we're gonna go fast,
Mm-hmm.
and that pissed us off a little bit. And hear me, I really don't like Jeff Lebby that much either, so I'm not calling for him back. But at least he had an identity. We went fast. We would take shots down the field. With Seth Luttrell, the play calling makes no sense. Jackson Arnold never looks comfortable. Um, it's either a pass at the line of scrimmage. You and me talked about this today. It's either a pass at the line of scrimmage, an inside run, or a shot down the sideline. I
Yep.
feel like we don't use the middle of the field. We don't use intermediate passes. None of our receivers go sit down in gaps in the zone. But also our receivers really don't get that much separation, and Jackson doesn't have much time to throw. So it's the worst combination you could think of um, an offensive coordinator not really putting guys in a great position, and I feel like our offensive players just not executing well either. So
Mm-hmm.
when the play calling's bad, the execution is bad, you're going to get results like you got on Saturday where we score 14 points on offense against Houston. And if you'll remember, one of those was on a muffed punt,
Yep.
and we got the ball at like the 11-yard line and then threw a touchdown on the very next play. So without that, we might lose that game because we only scored one touchdown.
It,
So
it's just mind-boggling for I don't even know how many drives in a row it how hard it was to get a first down, a single first down. And so I don't. And another thing that really caught my eye, we talked about this today earlier, is how scary it is watching Billy Bowman and Peyton Bowen return punts. My please stay on your feet, Billy. But Peyton, Can he catch it? I mean, I really don't know what's going on. I feel like they're so look like they were under so much pressure yesterday, and you're at home. So I mean, if that's what the case is going to be, then it's going to be a very very long season.
yeah, no, I agree. And I asked you this question today when you came over, but it's like me and my cousin were talking about this last night, but it's where do our wins come from? Because our schedule's tough, man. And like you said, and me and Jaron talked about it last week. We talked about Tennessee is going to be our real first test. Well, our real
Mhm.
first test is next week against Tulane.
100%.
So if Tulane's a test, that makes me scared to see what happens when we get into conference play. So let's get into some specifics, and I want to hear you kind of break down some different personnel groups, go individually about how guys played and what's really bothering you with individual different players and position groups.
Well, I mean, so me and Biggin talked about it a little bit today. I had just asked him his thoughts on the game, and he, the O line looked a little bit better than it did week one. I mean, obviously, you can't get much worse than what we did week one, but even for how much improvement it was, I feel like we got absolutely nothing to show for it. I feel like everything was just out of rhythm. And honestly, like we've been blessed the past, 10 years with such high standard at the quarterback position. I mean, even with, you know, Dylan Gabriel, Caleb Williams, and all those guys. I mean, and now we're stuck with now. I'm not saying I don't think Jackson Arnold cannot. He's not on that level because I think he definitely has the potential to be. I mean, he was a 5-star out of Texas. And so I understand that he's probably under a lot of pressure. I mean, like I said, in episode one, that a season depends on him 100%. So I think he may be getting that. He may be allowing that to get to him just a little bit. And so that honestly that is my main concern is just how which I understand he may not be on the same page as Latrell right now, and obviously our wide receivers weren't doing much to help him. But honestly, as Jackson Arnold is my main concern. If I'm gonna go number two, it's probably our wide receiver room right now, just because we have so many guys hurt. And if we can't get healthy quick, we're going to be in a bind because you've got to be able to get open because we're not running the ball too well right now. So, and it's not like it's going to get any easier. We're not going into the Big 12 to play, mediocre teams until we play, Texas or Kansas State. But I mean, like we play Tennessee in 2 weeks. We follow it up with Auburn, and then my God, we play Texas, and we'll talk about them later. But uh, they are leaps and bounds better than us right now, and I never thought that I'd be saying that. Um, so that definitely catches my eye a little bit. But on the bright side, defense looks phenomenal. Danny Stutzman, don't think he's a good dude, but man, he he makes our defense go. What did he have? How many tackles did he have last night? Like 15, something like that.
Yeah, I think he ended up with 15, and we'll go over our MVPs and read those stats, and
Absolutely.
we'll get Danny's stats. But I'm pretty sure it was 15.
Yeah. So I mean, he's obviously he's what makes our defense go. And obviously I felt like they did a great job. They honestly didn't get a break last night. They have long possession, finally get off the field, and we go and have a 3-and-out, and they're right back there, and they do it again. So kudos to them. Yeah, but aside from our offense just being brutal, defense being great, and our special teams returning wise has kind of got me just a little bit scared. I mean, punts stress me out enough just because like I understand it's probably really hard to do when you got guys running at you that hard, but I mean you're there for a reason. We have so many guys on the roster that probably could catch a punt. So I mean if you're the guy for us, please don't be scaring us. We don't need that. It's hard enough to get a first down right now. The last thing we need is a muff punt.
Yeah, and I'm glad when you touched on the special teams, you talked about the receiving side of it because I thought the defending side of it was really well. I think
Yeah,
Luke Elzinga pinning him deep, and then Lewis Carter's been really good for us on special teams. He jumped on that muff punt, and he just lights dudes up down there. Uh, he's been really good for us on that side of the ball. Kanik, being a starter at linebacker, that's probably tough to get buried in the depth chart, and he's been pretty good for us on special teams too.
absolutely.
So I think that unit did really well. As far as the offense goes, for my personnel, I want to talk about obviously the O line. There's still major problems there that need to be fixed, and I don't know how you fix them, but they got to fix them fast. But the running back room was not one I was probably the most hopeful about the wide receiver room this year. But then I
Hmm.
thought our running backs were going to be a lot better than they've been. I think personally, which you said you were going to be hard on Arnold, I'm still a little more. I want to see a little bit more before I just absolutely write him off. But I'm not. I'm really not sold on Sawchuk. I thought Barnes was running hard last night, but I feel like he has no vision whatsoever. I
Yep.
feel like he just runs right into his guards every time, runs right into his center. I will say this for Barnes though, is he did a great job of picking up blitzers on Saturday night
Yeah. Yes, he
because
did.
and I mean, and we sit, which you know where our seats are. We're up by the press box,
Uh-huh.
and um, you just watch that guy, and you can hear the pads popping from him picking up somebody, a linebacker just running right through our line of scrimmage, coming right at Jackson Arnold.
What's sad is he's probably getting hit harder that night blocking than he was running the ball.
I absolutely think so. There was probably 8 or 9 different times where he saved Jackson Arnold from getting sacked because there's just a guy coming through untouched and he's got to step up and put a hat on him. But that's why he's playing, honestly, I think, is we can't get anything going with the run game and he's getting the share of the snaps because he's probably our best blocking halfback.
Yeah,
Um,
and if he's in the game solely for blocking, that just goes to show how in trouble we are with
yep,
the run game, at least. I
yep,
mean,
yeah, I agree. And I think that I understand he's a freshman and it's been a very small sample size, but Taylor Tatum was the number one running back in this class, and he played 6 snaps, I think, on Saturday, and he had
yep.
one carry, and his one carry was for 6 yards. So he's shown a little bit of spark, and I don't know why he isn't getting Sawchuk's touches, and I don't see why he's not getting more of a chance because he might not be the best in practice. We don't know. We can't see. We can't watch practices or anything like
Mhm.
that. But during the games, he's shown that he has the best vision and just he's just got it more than those other two, it seems like, during a game. But
Yeah, and
Barnes, I'm not going to be too hard on him because he did a really good job in blitz picking up blitzes on Saturday. He ran hard. I don't think he ran well, but he he, he was saving Jackson Arnold's butt quite a few times on Saturday night. So you got to give him credit there.
I mean, is it just too hard to ask for us to be balanced on both ends for 1 year?
Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to get it, is what it seems like. Because,
Well,
it's Lincoln Riley for a few years and then it's BV for a few
well,
years.
let me ask you this. I wrote this down just to, I'm just curious because I don't know if what that contract he signed for, how long he's going to be here for sure. But if this continues, at least for this year, should Brent Venables be worried about his job?
I think that, when you're at a blue blood like this, you're, and the standard is so high that if he does start having like bad, performances like this, and they start turning into losses, like that first year, that first year was a freebie. That six
Hmm.
and seven year, he's not going to get any more of those, I don't think. Um, maybe this year he
Just because
gets
it's our
another
first year
pass
in the
just because
SEC.
it's our first year in the SEC. But I I think this team has the talent to compete in the SEC. It worries me that we don't look ready. I know you can't help injury, and I know we're not returning any starters on the O line, but other teams don't use that as an excuse. Georgia 30-piece Clemson, Tennessee 50-piece NC State last week. We obviously saw what Texas did in Ann Arbor to Michigan. Um, Ohio State scored 50 this week. So it's like, why do we not look ready? If
Hmm.
we think that we're one of the top teams in the country, I don't care who you're trotting out on the field, you should beat Houston by 40 points.
Every single night.
Yes.
Every
Um,
single night. And the fact that we couldn't burn Latrell McCutcheon's sorry, but I told you I'm trying not to cuss this episode. But yeah, he was garbage at Oklahoma. He left USC and he went to Houston, and we couldn't torch him at least once or twice. I mean, it just makes absolutely no sense to me. So I don't know. It's so hard to try to be positive
well,
about
think
that.
about the offsides, and I think it was the fourth quarter. We get an offsides call on fourth down and 4, or fourth down and 3. We get the offside, so it's a free play, and all our receivers just run go routes, and we throw a pick because our wide receiver can't get any separation.
Hmm.
That's very scary to me because we play LSU, we play Alabama, we play Ole Miss, and you think they're not going to have better DBs than Houston? Like, I, it worries
Go
me. It
Betty.
worries me a lot. And last thing about the offense is I do. I am gonna vouch for Jackson. I want to see. I don't think it's a big enough sample size, and I think I just don't know that he and Latrell are a great fit for each other. I don't know. It's weird. I don't think Latrell does a good enough job early in the game of giving him easy completions and getting his confidence
Mhm.
up. Um, but I'd like to see there's a couple more weeks before I want to jump ship because I don't think Michael Hawkins is ready either. Physically, maybe because I've heard he's really talented, and he's been tearing dudes up in practice. But mentally, I don't know that he is because Jackson really hasn't looked at mentally either, and he's got a year on Hawkins and some game reps. But last thing about like a position group for the offense is why are we not using our tight ends more over the
Absolutely.
middle of
Shout
the
out
field?
Jake Roberts for
Yeah,
keeping us in the game.
and
So,
when we talk about MVPs, he's got to be the
oh,
offensive
100%.
MVP.
Absolutely.
Caught a touchdown, caught that big first down play at the end
That
of the
Jackson
game.
Arnold almost threw away for
Yep.
absolutely. I don't think it was a hard pass at all.
Yep. So, with just the absolute lack of production, he's the only guy that really made anything happen on Saturday night. And
Absolutely.
that makes me happy to see we've got a better tight end room than we've had the past couple or last season. Braden Willis was good for us 2 years ago, but I think Bauer Sharp's good. I think Jake Roberts is good. So, as crazy as it sounds, we're 2 weeks into the season and we're talking about the tight ends being the bright spot on the offense, which is not at all where I thought we would be. So that's really my thoughts on the offense. We look like a high school offense. The only time we were getting positive yards was a designed quarterback draw, and that's what the Ada Cougars do right down the street. So that makes me a little bit worried. Um,
Oh,
but
God.
anything else on the offense, any other position group, it will
Man,
it will help getting Andrell and Nick Anderson back. But
100%.
but
One
still, like
thing,
I said, it's Houston. No matter who we trot out on the field, we should win by 40. It shouldn't matter. If we want to be one of the top teams in the country, this type of stuff can't happen.
no, absolutely not. And one last thing about, offense that really caught my eye, and I'm sure you noticed it too, being at the game. But and I noticed it because they kept panning the camera to him every single thing. I think they understood that he was having trouble hearing, but Jackson Arnold was having to cover his ears about every single play that whole second half. And, I don't know exactly how that technology is working now. But all I know is that if he cannot hear and if he's kind of confused and rattled in Norman against Houston, he's going to poop his pants when we go on the road in the SEC because it is just going to be because we're still not where we need to be as a fan base. So if we were insanely loud that night, just that times 10 is what he's going to be going into the rest of the season. So he really they need to get that figured out. I don't know if that was playing into why he was playing so poorly or if he was using that kind of as a way to us to feel bad for him. But I don't feel bad for the guy. I think he understands what the expectation is here at Oklahoma. You have year after year, guys that we can trust. And I will give him the benefit of the doubt. It is a small sample size. It's only been 2 games, but uh, he's got Tulane. If he can scratch out a win, the real test is going to be Tennessee. But brother, you got 2 weeks, so show us, please, show us what you have because we cannot go through this. It's too early in the season, bro.
Yeah, I will say last thing about Jackson Arnold is I am a Jackson Arnold believer still, and it scares me to see when they do finally take a deep shot. Um, a lot of those, do you notice how far out of bounds he'll throw the ball down the sideline?
Mm-hmm.
Or he underthrows guys.
Yep.
It almost looks like he's got the yips a little
Yep.
bit, which I hope that's not the case, but and I think he's got all the talent in the world to do it. He showed it last year against like, of course it's garbage time, but like teams like Tulsa, like last year, we beat the brakes off of Tulsa. I feel like Houston's not any better than Tulsa was last year.
No.
And Jackson Arnold looked really, really good as a freshman in that game. And then he comes in and he just doesn't look like the same guy.
Man.
I hope it's, I don't know.
Some kids are ready and some never are. I
Right,
mean,
right.
it's when it comes to their mentality, it's really it's like I said, we've been extremely lucky that we found some freaking dogs in the past, but every now and then we misrepresent one. So we'll
Yeah.
see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I think that's about all I want to cover on the offense. It really hurts me to even talk about Saturday night. Our defense scored more points than us in the second half. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I don't know, man. It's got to change fast. And
Absolutely.
all right, last question for you. Just a little something to get people going is yes or no, does Seth Luttrell make it through the season?
I hope so, but I'm going to say no.
Well, it's not looking promising right now. Um,
Well, I just think it's going to be it's only going to get harder. You've got 2 weeks tops to make some major changes, and that is insanely hard. I mean, especially with, I mean, if you're in a quarterback game like this already after all the months y'all have had together, something's not right. So, I don't think so. No.
okay, and as much as I hate to say it, I don't think that's totally out of the realm of possibility for him to not make it through the year either. And Tennessee is going to be a big test, but Tulane,
Uh-huh.
we can't look past Tulane. Obviously, we showed that we're not a good enough team to be able to look past a team like Tulane. So if we don't come
Mhm.
out, clicking on all cylinders next week, we're going to get beat because they just about handed it to Kansas State. A few things go there, a few bounces go their way, and they win that ball game.
Yep.
So, all right, well, that's enough about the offense. Will, you want to get us started on the defense?
Well, yeah. So I mean, like I said earlier, Danny Stutzman played out of his mind. What's his name? Grace Halton. You're gonna talk about him later. You're a big fan of that guy. Huge safety towards the end. I got Spencer Jennings, humongous pick. Towards the end, though it really didn't count for anything because we went 3 and out and missed the field goal. But kudos to that dude. I feel like everybody played a major role. In how successful our defense was. Even though it is Houston, I feel like we've only allowed one touchdown so far all year throughout 2 games, so that's definitely a good sign. But honestly, as far as our defense goes, I think we'll be up for a test against Tulane. I mean, their offense is okay, but I'm really curious if we make it that far. Hell, we may not even have a podcast if we lose to Tulane. But I'm real curious to see how they do against Tennessee. That'll really kind of give me the true view about how I really feel about the defense.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, if our defense doesn't show up, we absolutely lose that game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the final time of possession, I think Houston's time of possession was like 34 minutes, something crazy like that. It's a 60-minute game. So you do the math there. That's over half of the game that our defense was on the field, and we gave up one touchdown. So that's pretty impressive. And we really didn't, as far as the total yards go, I think they did get over 300 finally towards the end of the game. But when you're playing that many possessions, I
It's
mean,
pretty easy.
yeah, what do you expect? What do you expect from a defense when they're out on the field over half the game? So it's it's really hard to be super critical of them because I think without them we absolutely lose that game. And like you said, Danny Stutzman makes that defense go. He didn't absolutely fill up the stat sheet week one, but he sure did last week, and he hit some dudes hard. Um, there was one time he gets in the hole and meets that running back, and I texted you and I was like, Danny Stutzman just
He
killed the
lit
running back.
lit him up,
And
bro.
it was loud, and it was and it's kind of like you talked about last week. It's nice to see our defense hitting some guys.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that happened again last week. I thought our pass rush was decent. I don't feel like it was as good as it was against Temple, but Temple was really, really bad. Still felt like the pass rush was pretty good. Um, Grayson Halton, big time players make big time plays in big time moments. So and it wasn't just a safety. He had a few moments in Saturday's game that were really huge for us. He's
Mm-hmm.
been I've been pleasantly surprised by Grayson Halton. He's been really good. Robert Spears Jennings, like you picked to be the MVP, he played well. Had the huge pick that could have gone a long way in sealing the game, and then we go immediately 3 and out. Um, he did get burned on the one touchdown. I think he was in the wrong coverage. But that was kind of a weird deal. That was right after the Woody Washington one-handed pick that they called back
Mm-hmm.
for pass interference that I
Well,
don't think was pass interference.
one thing I was gonna ask about defense because it really pissed me off. because Billy Bowman actually did it, but somebody else got flagged for it. We had just got a big stop on third down, and I think Danny Sussman actually had another tackle. And it was down on the field, number 83, whoever that wide receiver was last night, he had Billy Bowman going all night. Like he must have talked to J.D. Coleman or something in high school because Billy Bowman was livid all single night. And I don't know if he like pushed him or something, like while he was already on the ground, but somebody else ended up getting flagged for it and they got a first down. But like as a senior, especially as a captain on the defense, like you can't do that, especially in that moment. And we'll be talking about that dumbass offensive lineman later on that takes off his helmet for some reason. But that can't happen. But other than that, I think that, like you said, defense it's it's our strong suit right now. Which it's really weird for us to be saying that as a Oklahoma fan, but it feels good, I guess.
Now, if we could just put it all together, we would we would be so good. Um, but anyone else in particular that stood out to you? I thought Dominic Williams, he was that big. I don't know if you really followed it much this offseason, but he was the big transfer from TCU. I think it was TCU. Um, but he played really well
How
on
are
Saturday. I thought.
our two freshman linemen? How are they doing? How did they do last
I don't
this
know that David Stone played last night. Jaden Jackson did all right, I think. I don't think he filled up the stat sheet by any means, but
Come on, David. Lock it
but
in, bro. We need you
but
on there.
but I don't remember seeing David Stone out there at all on Saturday night. But
Yeah, he didn't have a tackle, so oh,
well,
lovely.
yeah, I mean, I'm glad there's not as much to talk about on the defense because if we had to talk about the defense as much as we just talked about the offense, we're
We would
definitely
have lost
talking about a loss on Saturday night.
100%.
So, well, let's go ahead and move on to our MVP pick. Um, so you had,
I've got to start writing these down whenever I got to quit deleting my notes after we have our episodes.
I think you picked Deion Burks and Robert Spears Jennings,
Okay,
if I'm
yes,
not
yes, yes, yes.
mistaken.
Well,
And
I was
so,
completely wrong about the offensive one, 100%.
which Deion Burks, he went 9 receptions, but only had 53 yards.
Hmm.
So that's what I'm saying about the passes at the line of scrimmage don't make any sense to me. Why would you not go? And what's wrong with a 5, 6 yard gain on first down? Like I know they want the big splash play, like oh it's gonna be exciting to do this jet sweep or this wide receiver screen. It's gonna go for a lot of yards. And everyone's gonna get excited. What's wrong with getting Jackson an easy completion, sitting Deion Burks down in the zone and picking up 5, 6 yards on first down?
Yep.
Like what is wrong with that? I think our average third down on Saturday night was like 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 9. And so you're not going to convert many first downs in
Dude,
third and
our
third and
our
long
third
like that.
down completion has got to be one of the worst in the country right now. I don't
Yeah.
know exactly what we are, but I know we've got to be down there.
Well, it's because we get behind the chains so early every single possession. It's like our first two plays go for either hardly any yards or negative yards. And so then
Hmm.
we're trying to get a huge chunk. And then a lot of times they would rush 3 and drop 8 and they're getting to Jackson on third down. And it's just like, what is going on? So I don't understand. We don't use the middle of the field. We don't use tight ends. And it's very annoying. But Deion Burks, 12 targets, 9 receptions for 53 yards. And then on the defensive side, you had Robert Spears Jennings,
Did
who,
you see that video I sent you when he had that pick? I don't know if you were able to play
yeah,
the
I
sound
did.
on it or not. I was hyped, bro.
I
Put some
did.
respect on his name.
Which he honestly has a case for it too. I think on defense there's a few guys that have a case for the MVP. I think obviously Danny's probably gonna take it because he had 15 tackles,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Robert Spears Jennings played well. Um, Grayson Halton obviously played well. There's just a few different guys that was really nice to see. So Robert Spears Jennings, uh, 4 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, a pick, and a pass deflection. So pretty good night from him too. So not a bad pick from you there, Will. And
Appreciate it.
I
Appreciate it.
took Gavin Sawchuk, who he had 4 carries. His longest rush was 2 yards.
Love that. Hey, at least
Yeah,
he's consistent. He did it week 1 too.
yeah. I think that dude needs to find his spot on the bench. He
Yeah.
had 4 carries for 4 yards with an average of 1 yard per carry. And then my defensive pick was
Uh,
Samuel Omosigo, and he had 5 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. And he had 2 tackles for loss. So he played well too
mm-hmm.
on Saturday night. But when you have your Mike linebacker going for 15 tackles, um,
Hard to
11
take the cake on that one.
11 solo tackles, that's what you need from your leader on your defense. So you and me agreed. Jake Roberts,
And
and he didn't.
Danny Stutz.
Yeah, and Jake Roberts only had 3 receptions, but they were in really big clutch moments.
Absolutely.
Um, so Jake Roberts and Danny Stutzman, congratulations. You
Man,
are you are fourth
speaking
and
of
one's MVP.
absolutely, hey, congratulations, guys. But speaking of Jake Roberts, we need. I told you about him earlier, but we need to try to get his little brother to come to Oklahoma because right now he's going to Oklahoma or to Ohio State. But I heard Nate. I was talking to Bo. He said that they ended up beating Sulphur the other night. He goes to Washington, but Bo said he's like 6'7", like 220, big old dude. So and he can move. So if we could somehow get him to flip, which honestly, watching that game, I don't know if I want to go to Oklahoma either. But yeah. So shout out Jake Roberts for sure. Big game.
Mm.
Hopefully, will he be our guy? Or I don't. Isn't the other tight end? He's not bad either. But Bauer
No,
Sharp.
no, Bauer Sharp's good. He dropped a pass last week. I think he could have come up with. He got hit pretty hard. He got up in the air and dropped it. I don't know if you remember that play, but he had 1 reception last night for 5 yards. So
Mhm.
Jake Roberts was definitely the guy last night, as far as tight ends go. Really, as far as wide receivers go.
Man,
Um,
so well, since we're on it, I guess when we're talking about how bad OU is, we might as well get it out of the way and just kind of go over when there's OU, there's Texas. And right now we're polar opposites, it seems like. But were you able to catch that Texas Michigan game?
I did not get to watch it. I saw the final score. What was it, 34-12?
Yeah, something
I
like
believe
that.
I think I was driving to Norman when the game was going on, and I think I was listening to the OSU game. But Texas looks good. I will say Texas looks good. Here's what I will say about that game is Michigan's not very good this year, I don't think.
Yeah,
It's not
that's fair.
necessarily that Michigan's not good. They don't have a quarterback. So uh, they don't have their coach. They don't have someone stealing signs. So I think it looks a lot better than it actually is for Texas, but I do think Texas is pretty good this year.
So let me ask you this, because I'm gonna brag about him a little bit. I like him a lot. But do you think that there's still gonna be drama in the quarterback room at Texas throughout the year?
No, not if Quinn Ewers keeps playing like this.
That
If
he
he
is
keeps playing like this, he's gonna get invited to New York.
100%. He's more than likely probably gonna go number one overall. Like that's what I was. He's balling out right now, Colin, and
And
it's scary
honestly,
to see.
good for him on the decision he made to come back because he was kind of a fringe guy. He could have got drafted last year, but that draft class was very stacked with quarterbacks because it was obviously Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, Jaden Daniels, guys like that. And he decides to come back for another year, and he helped himself out a lot. He did
One hundred
himself a
percent.
huge favor.
Yeah,
So
it played out in his favor 100%. Another thing that I was gonna say is I really don't know, which I watched that game for the most part, but I don't know if they really have like every team kind of has a weak spot. They're not as good in some, but Texas looks pretty solid all around, and so that's I know OU Texas is always if you take away that game 2 or 3 years ago, we don't talk about that, but every year it's kind of close, but at the pace it's at right now, it looks like we may be running into another blowout. So fingers crossed that does not happen. We really need that game to go our way.
right, and our only saving grace is we're not going to get beat 49-0 in that game. Our offense might score 0 points, but we're not going to get beat
We're not gonna
49 to
give up
0
49.
because the defense is good enough that that's not going to happen again. Um,
100%.
but yeah, no, Texas looks good.
Yeah.
It pains me to say it. They're going to be um one of the teams to beat in the SEC and probably in the college landscape. But like I said, the the shellacking that they gave to Michigan on Saturday looks a lot better than it actually is, in my opinion. maybe I'm seeing that through crimson colored glasses because I don't ever want to say anything good about Texas, but I really don't. I think that that's not the only butt whooping Michigan's going to get this year. I'll put it that way.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's fair. That's fair. Well, I mean,
Not,
overall, I mean, and it kind of it was just transition into our next topic, but it was just a weird week this week in college football. I mean, you got OU's absolute disaster. It's kind of funny. We were laughing about Notre Dame losing NIU, which I was. I don't know because you tolerate Notre Dame, don't you? You're
I
kind
got
of a
a lot of family on my dad's side that
yeah
they're big Notre Dame fans. I personally, I choose one team and I rock with one team. I don't want to see them miserable. I know a couple of them watch this, so our hearts go out to you right now. But um, I like seeing them win just for those guys. But I'm never gonna go out.
yeah
I'm loyal to one
yeah
team. So, but can you imagine? Can you
man.
imagine being in
I
their shoes right now?
Well, we almost were. I mean, and honestly, I don't know. Houston's not as Houston. I feel like we lose to Houston. It's not on the same topic as losing to NIU. And on top of that, you follow the week before you go to A&M and beat them, and then you turn around and I don't know. That was very confusing. I don't know if I feel like Notre Dame is still they still may be legit. I guess every team has that one game, perhaps. I don't know. I may be giving them too much leeway.
Well, just to add insult to injury too, last week Jaron's on, he goes, Notre Dame might not lose a game all year. So maybe Notre Dame fans should be going after him for putting the ultimate jinx on their team because that was pretty crazy work.
Oh yeah, and then so we have the Notre Dame game, and then Alabama. It took them 4 quarters
Mhm.
before they finally turned it on against South Florida.
Which they
So
struggled against them last year too, I want to say.
yeah, I'm pretty sure South Florida's social media team was on one all week too. I think they were going at Alabama like crazy. So that you love to see that. You said you listened to the Arkansas OSU game because you played in Stillwater that morning, didn't you?
I did. I don't like OSU as a team, but everyone was super cool to us on Saturday. My band had a gig. Chris Arthur's and the Trainwrecks. Go check out Chris Arthur's on Spotify. There's a
Sure.
little plug. But we played from 9 to 11 a.m. that morning, and there's a lot of fans out there early, getting to the game, which I know is a pretty big time game for them. It's probably
Mm-hmm.
doesn't look like that every Saturday, but everyone was super cool. Stopping talking to us, tell us we did good. Would stop and watch and pull their phones out, but that game was crazy. That
Man,
Arkansas had every chance to win that game.
how do you give up 600 yards and you still lose? Or how do you have 600 yards and you still lose? I
Mhm.
don't that that game was so frustrating. And I'm just gonna point it out because I'm not gonna go too deep because I honestly don't care for the guy. He's irrelevant. He's 40 years old. But is his name Alan Bowman? Is that his name?
Yep.
Dude, let me set it to you like this, all right? I'm gonna you're not shit, bro. Okay? I said I wasn't gonna cuss, but you're not. You are you're 30 you're 30 something. I told Colin you're about to get your social security check within the next few years, bro. You have so many missed throws that game. And then the one time you do make a good throw and it gets y'all within the 5, you want to do your little celebration in Arkansas, which gets you put 15 yards back, and then you kick a field goal, and then Arkansas goes and ties it, and you go to overtime. Y'all wouldn't be in that mess if it wasn't for you. So I don't understand why he thinks he is so good. You are a
All right, welcome back. Well, we had to take a little break there to let my partner cool down for a little bit. He's getting a little bit heated. Will, do you wanna continue with your thoughts on Alan
yeah,
Bowman?
yeah. So I think it was a sign from the Lord saying I need to chill out just a tad. I did cuss. Sorry, Granny Debbie. But no, man, just for Alan Bowman, just remember where you are and who you are, dog. You're not a 5-star. I'm sure all the females probably aren't interested in you because you're looking for a family of 4. So I just remember who you are. You're not as good as you think you are, dog. So my luck, he's probably next week he's going to turn around and have an insane performance. But not just watching him is really like you got Ollie Gordon, you got Brennan Presley, dog. Like that is Oklahoma State. Those 2 guys. You are not one of them, so keep your mouth shut. All right, that's all I gotta say about it.
Also, if I could offer another piece of advice to Alan Bowman, it would be that finger guns is never worth 15 yards in a
Nah, dog. That's just like a pew 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 pew.
well,
Like that ain't scaring nobody.
that just shows his age. That's doing this right here. That little number, that's an old man celebration.
We had that dude from LSU freaking acting like he was pulling a gun to shoot somebody.
And Alan Bowman literally hit him with the finger guns. Alan Bowman is the type of guy that when you go out and eat and you pay the check, he stands up and he asks everybody if they're ready to rock and roll. And he tucks his shirt into his cargo shorts and ties up his New Balance, his white New
Ah,
Balances.
Alan Bowman is the type of guy when you go out to the bars, instead of playing some, new heat, he wants to play some Chicago or some Boyz II Men, some stuff that my parents used to listen to.
He's also the same guy that, when you show up at a restaurant and it gets crowded, he's like, "Man, it looks like we beat the rush."
Man,
He's
Alan
that
Bowman,
guy.
you're getting shit on, bro.
He
Know
is
who you are,
so
dog. Know
he
where you
is
stand.
so old, dude. He's so
Ah,
old. He needs to be careful because he might break a hip next game.
uh,
Really, honestly.
he's set though, man. He's got NIL, and then he's got 2 years going to work, and then he can retire. I mean, he's set. He
Like you said, he's about to start drawing his Social
he,
Security.
he is, bro. I mean, Granny Debbie's looking for a geriatric old man to marry, so maybe I should put in a word.
Oh my. Yeah. As you can tell, we're not big fans of Alan Bowman.
No, no. But and then to close it up, aside from Arkansas just completely shooting themselves in the foot, um, I didn't get to watch it because it was on Peacock. I don't know if you guys tune in, but Oregon only beat Boise State by 3. And apparently Boise State has a running back that's he's a dog. So we may need to start paying more attention to that guy. Don't even know his name. Shame on me, but
Nice. Well, that's 2 weeks in a row for Oregon because they didn't really look great week one.
yeah.
So it's just a word to OU fans, I guess. It could be worse. We could be 1-1. Oregon hasn't looked good, so it could be worse, but it should be better.
It
I'll put it
100%
that way. It
should
should
be
be better.
better. So I guess what we got next, you want to go ahead and as I don't even know I the predictions for us in Tulane. Do you got you've got confident numbers that you want to throw out there, because I don't want to say we're gonna score quite a bit, because I don't think we
Well,
will.
here, if you want to hear where my mind was at on Saturday, so they kicked the field goal, right? It's like 7-3. And I'm like, well, I missed my prediction. They're not gonna shut them out. But I was like, maybe though they'll still score 40. It'll be like 40 something to 3, and it'll be pretty close. That'll be 2 weeks in a row where I was pretty close. Was I wrong? Which look, Jaren's prediction was the worst out of all of them. He said 63-0, so that sure didn't happen. Um, Tulane, like 24-17.
You think we scratch away with a win?
Yeah, it's gonna be another game that takes 7 years off my life, I think.
Dude, you're in for a long season, Colin.
Oh my gosh. It's like so thankful my dad has season tickets. It's like a blessing and a curse at the same time. Cause
Uh,
that Tennessee game is like obviously I'm gonna go,
oh
but
yeah. Well, that's what whenever we had technical difficulties, I went to the shower to cool off a little bit. And I was thinking, how expensive these Alabama tickets are going to be. I honestly, if there are some out there, nobody may want to go to that game. So we'll definitely see what happens. But no, I have them going. I have us winning 21-14. Um, I think our defense obviously, still. I think Tulane's going to score. I think they're, too good to get shut out completely. But what's sad is I'm really questionable about the 21 points. I don't know. I don't know if we can get there. So that's where I'm gonna stand with that. So I don't know.
did you ever think growing up that we'd be rooting for a team that struggled to score 20 points?
No, listen, man. This is the first time. Like that game against Texas, it was weird, but that was what was that? Was that BV's first year? So I mean, it was like anything can happen. But now it's like we've waited 2 years for Jackson Arnold to do his thing, and his thing ain't thinging. So we really need to.
Pause.
I don't know, man. I don't know what to say. It sucks for
It does
sure.
suck, but so you said 21-14 and
21-14.
24-17. So
Yes.
we'll see, which I think I saw today we opened up like 14 and a half point favorites, which is It's kind of crazy to
That
think
is
about
wild.
after how last week went for both teams, really, with how last week went for Tulane and
Well,
obviously how last week went for us. So,
you have your MVPs picked out yet?
yeah, I do. And Jaren's not here to steal them. So, on the defense, there's a couple different guys I wanted to go with, but I'm just gonna keep uh I'm gonna keep riding on the bandwagon of Grayson Halton, and I think he comes out and has another big game. He's been playing really well, been really impressing me. So, and like obviously, like we've talked about, guys like Billy Bowman and Danny Stutzman could pop every single week. And eventually when it gets down to it, I think we're gonna start picking those guys here and there to be an MVP. But for now, we're gonna try and, you know, be a little bit more original than just saying the best player on the defense every time. So
Okay.
give me Grayson Halton. Really impressive last week. Obviously very clutch last week. And the week before, really impressive. I think he's had a sack both weeks. He's looked really good. So that is my pick for the defense. Let me hear your pick.
Yeah, so I actually you know, my obviously I put two down just because I don't want Danny Stutzman. I feel like that's obviously an easy pick. But I think he's gonna have another stellar game. But surprise game, I think Ethan Downs is gonna have a good game. I don't know if he played much. Did he play quite a bit against Houston?
Hmm?
I didn't. Okay, so I think especially him being from where is he from? Weatherford. I know he's from Oklahoma. I think he's tired of this. I think he has a standout game, and I think it shocked some people. But no, since you went first for defense, I'll go ahead and I'll just throw my offensive one out there. Give me, God, forgot who I put. Javante Barnes. I think I I I didn't know who to pick. I mean, we could have stayed safe and went for Jake Roberts again. I hope not. All due respect, Jake. Great game last week, brother. But if you're our main guy, we're like Colin said earlier, we're in trouble. But I don't think Jackson Arnold's gonna. I don't think we're gonna get it, completely figured out in the passing game. But I think hopefully, we may see some spurts in our run game, and maybe that kind of spices things up as we go along. So I think Javante Barnes is gonna be the MVP for next week.
Yeah. I was thinking about throwing out another running back, but I'm not gonna do that to myself again and watch him go for 4 yards. I was thinking about obviously Javante Barnes, Taylor Tatum, I would pick over Gavin Sawchuk, but I'm gonna go. I think Nick Anderson comes back this week. Give me Nick Anderson for the offensive MVP. He's tired of watching this from the sideline. He's gonna go out and make a statement, I think. Um, really good year last year. Uh, really good weapon to have on offense. I think he goes off for a pretty good game this week. And I really hope he does, because that probably means Jackson Arnold has a pretty good game too.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, so and also shout out to was Brendan Thompson? Is that who he had a touchdown catch last week,
he
one of
did.
the early ones. So shout out him. But I hope you're right. I hope you're right over me, honestly, because I hope Jackson Arnold figures it out because I just I don't know. I keep saying that because like I'm so pissed off, dude, that it's playing out how it's playing out. I'm just at a loss of words. Never thought we'd really be having this conversation.
I'm right there with you. Um, it's been hard to watch.
Oh, 100%.
It's been hard
Well,
to watch.
but before we move on to our final segment of the Calling You Hot Takes, I guess shout out Dak Prescott. Just signed a major deal, 240 million, 4 years. Me personally, I don't think he's worth it. We had a good game today. Obviously, defense looked stellar for the Dallas Cowboys, but I want to hear your personal thoughts on. Do you think Dak's worth 240 million, Colin?
Well, I don't know. It's like we talked about earlier. There are a lot of quarterbacks in the league that are worse than Dak. Um, I think Dak gets a lot of hate because of who he plays for and the position that he plays.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Fair
kind of
enough.
just one of those positions. It's like center field or shortstop for the Yankees. Like, those positions, people expect them to be solid. There's a lot of pressure that comes with that. And he he puts up good numbers in the regular season. He tends to struggle in the postseason, but that's been the story of the Cowboys, isn't it? the whole team struggles in the postseason. Not to
Yeah.
excuse it, but is he good enough to be, the highest paid quarterback in the league? No. But like we said, the quarterback market resets every few years. So he's not going to be the highest paid for a while, but that's just what you have to do now to keep guys around. And I think that we could be a lot worse off than we are with Dak. But they looked really impressive today. And shout out talking about some you guys, CeeDee Lamb looked good. Tyler
So
Guyton getting his first start looked good against Myles Garrett.
let me
So
ask you this. So I saw this clip earlier, right before we started filming. So Bill Belichick, I guess he had some interview. And I don't know if he's wanting to come to Dallas or if he wants some of our guys, but he compared Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. Just think of a legendary quarterback wide receiver combination. I know there's so many options out there, but if you could choose one, who you think you'd compare those two to, who would you go with? And I'll tell you who Bill Belichick went with. And I'm honestly kind of mind blown. I don't know if he's tripping or smoking something, but I ain't seeing it.
did it involve Tom Brady or no?
No, did not involve Tom Brady.
Would it be maybe like a Jerry
Think
Rice and
go,
and Joe Montana type situation?
Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, bro. I mean, I don't see it.
I mean, they sure don't have the rings to back it up. Both those guys are Hall of Famers. Um, that's pretty high praise coming from one of the greatest coaches to do it. Which CeeDee Lamb last year was literally the definition of a wide receiver one.
100%.
Um, dude's a beast. He's a baller.
100%. Well,
But
since
to compare them to those two guys, set the bar pretty high.
I don't agree at all. But maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe he'll show us that he's worth that much. I think we should have paid CD quite a bit. I think we cannot lose him, otherwise we have no wide receivers at all. But I saw somebody say something about Jerry Jones watched Shedeur Sanders play last night, and that's why he signed Dak with this major deal. But that also wants to lead me before we get off college football. Colorado sucks. And Shedeur Sanders is a sorry individual as a leader. I don't know if you saw the clips of him absolutely just blasting his O line, but listen, dog. Just because you're daddy's boy, um, you've got a lot to work on as well. And your self entitlement and your egotistical characteristics are really making me sick, dog. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's hard to root for you when you are that. Uh, I makes me sick that he would actually say that on live television.
I agree. I agree. And probably nothing's going to come from it. Nothing's going to happen. But that is just what happens when you don't really watch football and you get all your information from social media and what everyone else says, everyone jumping on the hype train. Colorado is not a good team. They
Nope.
weren't a good team last year.
Go ahead and tell him what you told me earlier. That was really really funny.
All right, I'll read the tweet. Um, so somebody tweeted this out about Colorado, and it says, imagine being a Colorado fan before Coach Prime came. You were used to your team being ass and irrelevant, but now your team is ass and everyone hates y'all. And that pretty much sums it up. That pretty
Uh,
much sums it up.
well, it doesn't help that they did play Patrick Mahomes replica. That homeboy from Nebraska is trying everything in his power to be Patrick
Hey,
Mahomes, and
he's
he
not
does.
bad though. He's
He's
not
not
bad.
bad, but he 100% looks the part. So
Right. And I think so my whole mom's side, it's funny, my dad's side of the family, there's a lot of Notre Dame fans. My mom's side of the family, they're all Husker fans. And I told them my cousin Kyle and my Uncle Tom, I talked with them. I was like, Matt Rule's a good hire. Because he gave us fits in the Big 12 with Baylor.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we know what kind of teams he can put out. And that's the difference in culture. Look at the type of culture he brings to Nebraska where it's gritty, you know, get your lunch pail and a hard hat, just go to work type of blue collar culture. And then Colorado's culture is I'm super flashy, me, and then you see who comes out on top.
yeah.
Um,
It's
that's
I,
that's
I,
that's what it comes
Colorado,
down to.
honestly, like the way that they go about themselves, like you can see that money is definitely a factor. So like it kind of gives off NFL vibes from some of those guys. And then when you do that and you go against these college athletes that I guarantee you Nebraska guys aren't making near as much as Colorado guys are, and they're not playing for money necessarily. I think that they just want to beat the absolute piss out of whoever, and I think that just comes from Matt Rule's a great coach, like you said. So I'm not dog. I mean, I like Deion Sanders. I think he's kind of got the right intentions. But I'm not a fan of his oldest, if that's what Shadur is. That dude needs to really have a step back. And Cam Ward called him on his bullshit in the summer, and I think it's really showing now. So good for
And
Cam for
you see
noticing
how
that.
good Cam Ward's playing. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yep, I agree. Yeah, I'm not a fan of, like you said, not a fan of things he said, calling out. It's fine to think it, and we all talk about it, but me and Jenny talked about this too, and we listened to the post game last night after the game, and she's like, "Why does everyone like sound so positive? Like, I feel like people should be more realistic." And BV was pretty hard on the team, but it's like the players and stuff. That's not really their
Hmm.
position to be like, oh, like they need to be the positive ones because us as fans, we don't need to know what goes on in the locker room. We don't need to know
Yeah.
like basically your interviews should be pretty generic.
Well, I
Uh,
mean, like, and I had saw so many memes on Instagram and stuff. Like, everybody knew obviously that he wasn't getting a lot of time back there. I mean, it's plain as day. I mean, the average college football fan can see that. But then to go out and just let everybody know that you're thinking that too. Like, dude, like, you're supposed to be their quarterback, and you won't be throwing guys under the bus. Like, how you expect them to respect you?
right, and you can't ask for their respect if you're gonna throw them under the bus like that. But anyways, I don't mind seeing Colorado lose.
I just took a picture. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that. Well, so what girl's that one going to?
No, listen, man. I'm not gonna say your name because every time I say a name, it never works out. But take somebody out next week. So fingers crossed. Shout out while I'm on it. One of my best friends, Talon Roten, and Callie Armstrong, they got married this weekend in Little Rock, so that was an absolute great wedding. Comic Con, bunch of weirdos. So keep that in
Listen,
mind. Uh, ran into some dude in a full on ninja costume, something like that. Dane said it was a Star Wars costume or something in the elevator. He had a sword and a helmet, and I was like, just joking around with him. I was like, bro, I was like, you gonna hurt me? And he was like, no. But then his wife was like, not today. I was like, no, well, hold on just a second, okay? Like, if now I feel endangered, so I have every right to hit you in the throat if I wanted to. So yeah, just keep that in mind. If you ever want to go to Little Rock in September, they probably got that Comic Con Fest going on, so you definitely want to avoid that area.
oh gosh. Well, like they probably say the same thing about us come football season. So,
Absolutely, 100%. That's okay. Teach his
yep.
own.
Yep.
Well, so man, this has been as bad as OU played. I feel like we had a pretty good podcast so far. We try to be optimistic as much as possible. But we as everybody knows, Colin's drinking a smoothie over there. We like to shift it towards the end, talk about just some random things about us. So of course, we've been adding our cool and new hot takes last episode, and we're gonna do a few this episode. But for the fans watching, if you have any ideas, some extra snippets that you want to see us, discuss and argue about, we're all ears. We love the content. So, Colin, do you want to go ahead? Do you got two or three this week?
I got two. One
All right,
involves one something social, and one is something that can't be helped all the time.
that's
Um,
fair.
it'll make sense when I say it. But my first one, when I'm having a conversation with someone, and I know, I got a little bit of a monotone voice, I mumble a little bit, but when I'm talking to someone and in the middle of my sentence, they're like, huh? Like, it's like, okay, I understand you. If you can't understand me, that's fine. But at least wait till I'm finished talking. And also, don't come at me with that attitude with the huh. Be like, what's up? Or like, come again. Don't come at me with the huh. And like, it's the eyebrow, it's the scrunched forehead. It gets me every time, dude. Grinds my
Well,
gears.
and that kind of like if you is that I saw actually saw something about that. If you interrupt people, I mean, like, shame on you, dog. Like, just wait your turn. But no, that definitely would grind my gears for sure. So I have three. The last one's kind of personal because I'm gonna have to deal with it tomorrow. I know for a fact. So I'll save that one for last. But if you use the restroom, more specifically, if you take a dump, if you shit, and you do not use a courtesy flush, especially if it's in my house, you are the most selfish, self-centered person I've ever met in my entire life. I don't know if it's just your lack of awareness. Like maybe you're nose blind to it. That's okay. It happens. But just assume that I'm not. Okay. So go ahead and give me at least 2, 3 on a good day. All right. I want 3 flushes. I don't have to smell that. Okay. So that is 100% my first one. So for all y'all watching out there, if you like to do that, shame on you. Yeah, you can definitely do better. We're all grown here. Let's have a little audacity.
I like that. I like that. Another one too regarding, bad smells. I don't know if this ever happened to you, it probably did. Playing high school basketball, getting run like a cross country team or a track team out there, and you're standing on the baseline after you just ran your seventh suicide, and you're huffing and puffing, and someone rips one, man, and you breathe that in. It'll make me want to kill somebody.
Like you have to get air, like because you're about to have to go run again,
Yep.
and now you're getting polluted. That's that. I honestly, personally, I never had that happen to me when I was in high school.
Oh
Praise
God,
the Lord.
dude.
So I never had to go through that one.
It happened multiple occasions on our basketball team. I'll say that.
You ever find out the culprit? Was it the same person? I can
I
see,
don't
I can
know.
see, I can see Parker doing that. I know Parker be
Yeah.
watching these.
It was probably Parker a few times. Parker and Seth probably.
Oh, that's funny
But
stuff.
anyways, that was a little bonus one for you there. But my second one is having wet shoes or socks, whether it's raining outside or you accidentally step in a puddle or your socks get wet and you get that squishy, you're just walking around. That's one of the absolute worst feelings in the world, I think.
Oh, 100%, 100%. So let me ask you this though, just as a, let's just say if I come to y'all's house soon and it's raining, like if there's not a mat or anything to dry my feet off on, or like y'all don't offer me a towel, like do you want me to just take? I'm taking my shoes off because I'm a decent human being. But do you want me like you want my dogs out like in front of everybody? Just I mean my feet are probably gonna be wet too.
Look, make yourself comfortable. If you're comfortable with your dogs out, that's fine as long as they don't stink.
I, well, I don't. It's not necessarily the smell with me. I'll get a little personal. I got a lot of hair on my toes, so that's something that a lot of people call me out on. I can't help it. Just like my mustache, I shave.
Well, look, this is a judgment-free zone.
Yeah,
We're not
absolutely.
we're not gonna judge
So
hairy dogs.
yeah,
For all we
and I
know,
dare
Jimmy.
you. I dare you to say something in the comments because I promise you, Colin's got a response ready, guaranteed. No, so
I
that that
do.
that that's a good one. That's a good one for sure. So my second one, it's very specific, but I really can't wait for this third one. So if we're listening to music in the car, I may have already talked about this one last season. But specifically, if we're riding with me, you know me, I love my music, especially in the car. That's my time to, you know, disconnect with the world and just focus on music. So if you're riding with me, this goes for Grayson too, because Grayson always, anytime I'm playing songs, and he knows the rule to put your seatbelt on because my car don't shut up, but turn your phone down. If you're listening to TikToks or Instagram videos or something, if you're playing that loud while I'm listening to music, that's gonna piss me off. And then if you're trying to talk to me, like if it's a serious conversation, obviously I'll read the room. I'm not gonna play a song I really like. But if we're real quiet, and like for instance, right now, I'm big on Tory Lane. Shout out my guy Tory, free him. Homeboy's putting out absolute heat after heat, and he's locked up. But if I'm playing Tory Lanez and you're trying to have a conversation with me, especially if I tell you that I'm playing this song because I want you to hear it, oh, that goes all over me, Colin. That just it just for me it shows me I don't care what you're listening to right now, dog. Like your music's it's not relevant to me, and that is one of the biggest forms of disrespect that you can show me. So shut up when I'm playing music.
I agree. I agree. And you touched on it. If you be like, I want you to hear the song, I want to play the song for you, the next 3 to 4 minutes should be complete silence,
Complete silence.
except for the
Absolutely.
song.
Absolutely. 100% agree. And if argue with a wall, if you don't think music's that big of a deal, Colin's a musician. I'm an avid music listener. So shove it. Okay. You're not changing our minds on it. So shut up. Just shut up when music's playing. It's better when music's playing and nobody's talking. Better world if everybody just listens more music, guaranteed. But so my last one. So specifically at East Central on Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, I have a class at 11 and I don't get to get out till about 2. But so in the ECU's parking is ridiculous. They're about to put in a new nursing center, which is even gonna limit the parking anyways. So but the behind the business school, there's already parking is limited, okay? But this goes for specifically if you drive a big truck and you not only do you take up 2 spots, like even if it's something simple, like you are in one parking spot, but like your truck is so big that I cannot fit next to you, so there's just like a 3/4 of a parking space. Oh my God. That it makes me want to like leave. Not only I want to leave a note on your windshield, and I know it's gonna happen tomorrow because there's some dude that drives some souped up Ford F-150 that takes up about 1 1/3 every single time, dude. So now I'm having to walk an extra 300 feet to get to class, and I'm in my work clothes, so I'm sweating my balls off, and it just that it's just the lack of. You're so selfish, bro. You get a smaller truck or learn how to park or don't come to school that day. One of the three. I cannot.
Well, you know what they say about guys who drive big trucks.
100%. We can't say it. I can't just because I'll get in trouble. But yeah. So we you know who you are. You're not fooling anybody. So yeah, just wanted to and I'll send you a video tomorrow. Well, obviously we can't clip it and add it to the YouTube video. That'll probably be some exposing some privacy. But no, maybe he'll watch the video and he'll be like, "Damn, he's talking about me." Yeah, I'm talking about you, dog. So figure it out or leave. We don't need you.
Well, hopefully he doesn't catch you in the parking lot and
I hope he
wanna
does.
settle it. Look, my
I hope
money's
he
on
does.
you. My money's
I'll
on
have him
you.
film it. We can put it on the pod.
I like it. I like it. We've been needing to spice up the social media anyways.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, man. Well, look, our Sooners, they're gonna get better. I
Yeah.
got faith.
They are, and on the bright side, told Colin this earlier, saw a tweet. So Sooner Nation is one thing to look forward to this Oklahoma season. Thunder play in about a month, so keep that in mind. Barbecue chicken is on
Barbecue
its way,
chicken.
guys. Don't you worry. Colin and I have been in the kitchen whipping it up, so we're gonna be feeding it to y'all all basketball season long. So look forward to that for sure. Colin, you got any final words to wrap this one up, brother?
Yeah, one last thing before you wrap it up for us. If anyone would be interested, let us know. We need to take a little poll. We'll post it on the story, but also just DM us or something. We've had a few people DM us. If we were to come out with some shirts, normalize honking.
Brought to
Shout
you
out
by
to
Jeremy
Jeremy.
Johnson.
If we were to come out with some normalized honking shirts, let us know, yes or no, if you would buy them.
Yes. Mind
And
you, they may not be insanely cheap because we're trying to make a buck out here, but we may be able to slide you a t-shirt for $20, $25. So
yeah,
just keep that in mind.
so we've already worked on a few different options. We got some ideas, we got some stuff in the works, but we're not gonna make them if no one's gonna buy them. So just let us know. We'll post a poll. But all right, well, that's all I got. Will, you want to take us
Man,
home?
yeah, so overall, rough week. It's always better to be optimistic. So hopefully next week goes good. But you know, guys, on 4th and 1, we're honest. We hold nothing back. We let you know how we feel. You let us know how you feel. That's typically how it goes. But I'm Will Joplin signing out with my boy Colin O'Grady. Hopefully next week we're in a better mood. But we'll catch you on the next one.
We're high American nights.